welcome to my channel. This video I'm going to be exploring popular tropes in fantasy and how that may differ from tropes in dark fantasy. I've been doing a lot of research or exploring the difference between fantasy and dark fantasy because I am currently writing a dark fantasy novel. And something that I found super interesting is exploring what makes a dark fantasy trope a dark fantasy trope. What's the difference between your general fantasy tropes and how has dark fantasy adapted those? So a trope is a commonly recognized pattern or theme or type of character that appears often in a genre. Not all tropes are cliches, although they can easily become them. Tropes are just familiar storytelling building blocks, like ingredients that you can find in a certain theme or genre. You can mix them up, change them, adapt them, make them unique. This prevents them from becoming too cliche. If they're just really repetitive, if a trope is used without intention or without creativity, it can feel really repetitive. So that's definitely what we want to avoid when we are writing, and that's what makes books super interesting. Adding a spin or remixing a trope. At least that's what I find. So the most common tropes in fantasy, the classic tropes, are having a chosen one. Kind of a hero is going to save the world or a species or the family. Another one is a mentor or a wise guide. This is pretty common in fantasy. Epic quests are common in fantasy. Kind of a group travels to defeat something or overcome something or find something. Medieval kingdoms, common in fantasies. Magical races, of course, are common in fantasies. Things like elves, dwarfs, dragons, fae, shapeshifters, that kind of stuff. Prophecies are really common in fantasies. Good versus evil, having like heroes and villains. Hidden magic and secret worlds are also common in fantasies. Also having companions or familiars, that can be pretty common in a fantasy. Kind of a creature that is bonded, an animal that is bonded to a human. And of course, magic systems. I feel like you can't have a fantasy without some magic system. So when it comes to dark fantasy, the tropes are similar, but there's a twist. There's kind of a shadow aspect brought into each trope. Maybe fear or trauma. For dark fantasies, a fallen kingdom is common. A world that has been lost or destroyed. Morally gray heroes are also common. You can't tell if they are good or if they're evil, or maybe they're a little bit mix of both characters with questionable choices, usually shaped by a trauma. Magic with a terrible price is common in dark fantasy. Corrupt and cursed characters or creatures. Dark fantasies have kind of demons, monsters within a character or an external monster, suppressed desires, hidden truths, forbidden parts of a character, like you can't accept something of yourself. Unknown forces beyond human control is pretty common in dark fantasies. Tragic prophecies, kind of a bleak and doomed setting is common. Worlds that are on the verge of collapsing that need saving or are already beyond being saved. Dark fantasies often have villains who are actually in the right or who have a good point. And dark fantasies have grief, they have shadow, trauma. Characters are confronting past traumas or losses, confronting their shadow selves. So what makes a trope dark versus not dark? Moral ambiguity is a huge aspect to becoming dark. When there is no clear hero and there's no clear villain. You're not sure if the villain has a good side, and you can see a little dark side in the hero. Everyone is flawed. There's a choice, and the choices that the characters make hurt someone. There's always someone that is going to be hurt by a choice. There's no good for everyone. Like a typical fantasy trope can be the hero saves the world. And to make it a dark fantasy, the hero saves the world, but only when they destroy something they love or commit a sin that is unthinkable. Will they choose to commit that sin? Will they choose to destroy what they love to save something bigger? Stakes are often a lot higher in dark fantasy. And these are emotional stakes, psychological stakes. Conflicts involve more trauma, more fear, betrayal. It really affects the identity of the character. instead of just the mentor guiding the hero. The mentor betrays the hero and was manipulating the hero all along. This guy that you think is the wise guy helping you is really sabotaging you. Things like that. Magic and power that damages more than helps. The world building is dark. Maybe a world or a kingdom built on sacrifice and pain, on deception or corruption. Dark fantasy has themes of loss, corruption. When something is gained, something bad happens, or something worse happens, or something good is lost when something is gained. There's a lot of consequences. And of course, horror elements like monsters, curses, hauntings, possession, a little bit of horror blended with the fantasy. So to summarize the difference between regular fantasy and dark fantasy, morality is blurred. Characters suffer real emotional pain and really emotional consequences, psychological consequences. Power and magic comes with destruction, with pain, with grief, with devastating costs. The world really reflects cruelty, decay, dread. The theme centers more around fear and loss, truth and corruption. It's really about exploring the shadow side of the world or of a concept. The part that feels more uncomfortable to look at, that people usually turn away from. So when it comes to my novel, I have a fallen kingdom. But in my novel, the kingdom isn't destroyed. It's been banished. It's still here. It's still intact. It's still breathing. It's still alive. It isn't gone. Instead of being gone, is forgotten. Living in a world where no one remembers that you existed. The second trope that I'm using in my dark fantasy novel is a banished or cursed creature. My creatures aren't cursed by a villain or something external. They are cursed by a collective fear. The banishment of an entire magical species. A society that has chosen safety over magic, over freedom. A group that has been banished for what they symbolize. A group that is seen as unpredictable, emotional, untamed, and powerful was banished just by being who they are. I'm also using the trope of the lost heir. A hidden descent, a prophecy, kind of a reveal that changes everything. But in my story, the heir doesn't want the throne. The heir doesn't want to be the heir. They don't want the prophecy. They don't want the destiny. The journey is about abandoning expectations, not fulfilling them. And sometimes the most powerful choice is to walk away. I'm also using the trope of a moral gray villain. Not just a villain who thinks he's right, but a villain who might actually be right. The kind of force that you question, is this guy good or is this guy evil? The villain isn't just evil. The villain has made a terrible choice in a moment of fear. Their sin wasn't malice, it was survival. And the consequences from that choice has just spiraled. The villain also isn't a single person, it is a collective, a group of beings that have made this choice together. Another trope that I will be using in my novel is the price of magic. Power that asks for something in return. Magic that requires self-revelation. The more power you call upon, the more magic you use, the more you have to look at your shadow self, become comfortable with things that you have been ignoring because they are painful or challenging, confronting truths that are hard to believe. The final trope that I'm going to be exploring in my novel is a hidden world. But in my novel, it's not a world that is hidden, but the magic system. Magic from a past life. An ancient artifact that holds magic that has been lost and is starting to be found. What trope do you find the most interesting or exciting, or do you enjoy reading or would like to write? Or what would you like to see in a dark fantasy novel? Let me know in the comments below. And if you like dragons, if you like unicorns, underwater kingdoms, then you are going to want to subscribe to this channel and watch the process of me writing this novel, sharing bits and pieces of this novel, and you will probably love my novel, Banished Creatures of the Arcana. I'm documenting the process of writing, publishing, creating, and I'm sharing more about the novel as I write. Let me know in the comments what trope you like the most, or what tropes are you tired of seeing in fantasy or in dark fantasy. So if you're interested in similar videos, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching. Bye.